welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's talk about Constable Zungu, who is the reason why we are all here and having the 5 men in the dock in the Senzo Meyiwa case. Can Sizwe Zungu's evidence be enough to get a conviction? I say no. I say bullshit. I say bullshit. Okay? I say bullshit to Sizwe Zungu's evidence. Sorry, I need my lip gloss quickly. Sorry about that. And I'm not going to move this. I'm not going to remove it. So we have Constable Zungu that spoke to Gininda and told Gininda there's a lot of allegations pertaining ubudlelwane buka Zungu no Brigadier Gininda. But that's not our focus today. Our focus is, can evidence ka Zungu help Gininda's case? Let's get into that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel, Noni M Podcast. Today we are taking a deep dive into one of the most controversial witnesses to testify in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial, Constable Sizwe Sikhumbuzo Zungu. For many followers of this case, Zungu's testimony appeared to provide the missing link connecting some of the accused to events surrounding Senzo Meyiwa's murder. But the critical legal question is this: can a court safely convict on the basis of Constable Zungu's testimony? Because we saw Mr. Zungu's testimony. He did his evidence in chief or testimony in chief, and then everything was like, until it was time for cross-examination, everything collapsed. Okay? Now, because in criminal law, suspicion is not proof, possibility is not proof, even strong suspicion cannot replace proof beyond reasonable doubt. So today we will examine Zungu's testimony through the eyes of an experienced criminal court judge, and some of the findings may shock you. Let's get into this. This is what an experienced judge would do when it comes to Senzo Meyiwa trial, pertaining the evidence or the testimony of Constable Zungu. Firstly, the danger of single witness evidence. That's what an experienced judge with decades of experience will do. One of the first principles in criminal law is that evidence must be reliable. A witness may be honest but still be mistaken. Constable Sizwe Zungu testified about events allegedly taking place at the hostel on the day Senzo Meyiwa was killed. According to his version, several individuals gathered, ate together, left, and later returned behaving differently. The prosecution relied heavily on this evidence. However, courts are always cautious when dealing with identification evidence. Why? Because human memory is imperfect. People forget, people confuse dates, people reconstruct events years later. And in this case, the testimony concerns events that allegedly occurred many years before the witness testified. A judge will therefore ask, is there independent corroboration when it comes to the evidence? Are there objective records? Are there neutral witnesses? Does cell phone evidence support the version? Hang on. This is where the state failed. Corroboration means Zungu was supposed to bring someone who's going to say, yes, we were all at the hostel. Also, objective records, the AVL. Why didn't they bring Zungu's AVL to prove that Zungu was with the gentleman in hostel at the so-called day? And are there neutral witnesses? Luto. We don't have that. Does the cell phone evidence support this? Where is the cell phone evidence of Zungu that proves that he was indeed, his Google Tonton will be telling us that he was indeed at the hostel that day. So without independent confirmation, the testimony becomes dangerous, because now what do you mean? You have nothing to support what you are saying, Zungu. Secondly, memory contamination. Another major concern is a memory contamination. The Senzo Meyiwa investigation has lasted for years. Numerous statements have been taken. Many witnesses have spoken to police repeatedly. Media coverage was or has been extensive. Witnesses have discussed the case among themselves. A court must therefore ask, did the witness remember events independently, or was memory influenced by repeated police interviews, discussions with family members, media reports, investigators' theories? This is extremely important because once a witness memory becomes contaminated, separating genuine recollection from later influence becomes almost impossible. A judge cannot ignore that possibility. Thirdly, disputed statement creates serious problems. One of the recurring problems in this trial has been disputed witness statements. Some of the witnesses have denied portions of statements attributed to them. Some of the witnesses have denied the allegations that are put by Zungu in front of the court. Others have alleged that certain statements were never properly read back to them. Others have challenged their contents entirely. Whenever the statement becomes disputed, courts become cautious. Why? Because the court must first determine, was the statement freely made, correctly recorded, signed voluntarily, accurately translated, read back to the witness. Until these questions are answered satisfactorily, the court cannot simply accept every statement at face value. This significantly weakens the prosecution's case if those statements are being used to support Zungu's testimony. Do you understand? Because the people that Zungu claimed he was with, they're like, nothing like that happened, especially the day that he claims. Number 4, nervous behavior does not equal guilt. Another aspect often highlighted is that certain individuals allegedly returned looking nervous or shocked, according to Zungu, says the accused. But courts have repeatedly warned against relying on demeanor alone. People react differently to stressful situations. Some become quiet, some appear nervous, some panic, some show no emotion whatsoever. Nervousness does not automatically mean people are guilty of committing a crime. A person may appear nervous because police are involved, they fear being implicated, they have heard tragic news, they are naturally anxious. A criminal conviction cannot be based on impressions. It must be based on evidence, strong evidence, reliable evidence, objective evidence. And also, it can rely on the accusations of Zungu just because he claims he was with them, whereas they say there was no such event. That never happened. Some of them don't even know him. Number 5, the absence of objective evidence. Modern criminal investigations rely heavily on objective evidence. For example, cell phone records, location data, DNA evidence, fingerprints, CCTV footage, vehicle tracking, electronic communications. The more objective evidence supports a witness, the stronger that witness becomes. Conversely, where objective evidence is absent or contradictory, the witness reliability becomes questionable. Now, when it comes to Zungu, he is questionable because there are no conversations in his phone with these people. There's no proof. In fact, his cell phone was never used as proof that he knows these people. He used to talk to them telephonically, etc. His vehicle tracking, Donton AVL, was never brought. Location data for that day was never brought. There's absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, a judge evaluating Zungu's testimony would therefore compare it against cell phone records. Zungu's ones were never there. The accused people that have cell phone records there, there's no reliable confirmations of them speaking to Zungu. Hostile evidence, nobody can confirm this hostile issue. Timelines, the timeline is very wrong. The people that are saying we know Zungu, who are also the Zungus, are saying the event of Zungu being at the hostel, but the accused were not there, happened in 2017. He claims it's 2014. Movement analysis, Baloyi did not bring Zungu's movement analysis and other witnesses that are going to support Zungu. So if inconsistencies emerge, the court cannot simply ignore them. The accused are entitled to the benefit of reasonable doubt when it comes to this part. Number 6, the test for conviction. Many people misunderstand criminal trials. The question is not, do we suspect the accused? The question is has the state proved beyond reasonable doubt that the accused are guilty of this crime? That is a very high standard, okay? Even if the court believes Constable Zungu was trying to tell the truth, that does not mean actually, or that does not automatically mean the evidence is reliable enough for conviction. The court must ask, can this evidence safely be accepted? Can mistakes be excluded? Can contamination be excluded? Can fabrication be excluded? Can innocent explanations be excluded? If the answer is no, the court must acquit these guys. But because the law requires proof beyond reasonable doubt, so yeah, Zungu, you are on your own, sir. You are on your own, sir. Now, from a judicial perspective, Constable Zungu's testimony cannot simply be rejected outright, okay? However, it cannot safely stand alone. Its value depends entirely on corroboration, which it doesn't have. If independent evidence supports him, his testimony becomes important. If independent evidence contradicts him, his testimony becomes very dangerous. Therefore, a cautious court would likely conclude Constable Zungu's evidence may remain part of the record, but it is insufficient on its own to sustain convictions. The ultimate question remains, has the state presented sufficient independent evidence to remove all reasonable doubt next to Zungu's name, Constable Zungu's name or testimony? That is the question the court must answer, and that answer will determine the fate of the accused. Now, what is your view when it comes to Constable Zungu? Do you believe Constable Zungu's testimony is reliable, or do you believe the court should approach it with caution? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this analysis, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you on our next video. Thank you for watching. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.